Good evening, welcome to the latest live edition of Last Bell Boxing. I hope you haven't all missed me too much, probably not. So, joined by regulars, Ander. Good evening, Ander.
Evening, mate. Welcome back.
Thank you. It's not been that long. Good evening, Daz.
Welcome, mate. You all right?
All good. Sean, how are you going?
Yeah, I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm all right. Now we've done the well-being bit, let's move on to the boxing. So, first topic up tonight. There's only one place to start, really, and that's Rakhimov versus Cordina. So I know you previewed this on Thursday night last week. I was watching. Andy, I'll come to you first. What were your thoughts on the fight?
I thought Cordina was absolutely outstanding. A couple of us predicted Cordina would potentially win on points, but I think we all had a little concern that Rakhimov might get to him late. But Cordina it was almost punch perfect. I'd even go that far. I think it's the best performance he's had by a million miles. And in my opinion, with a performance like that, you don't need to be concerned about anyone else in that division. He was that good. Even Rakhimov's shots were bouncing off him when he was standing there and trading, because he boxed brilliantly, by the way. But when he did stand in the pocket and trade, Rakhimov's shots, and Rakhimov's a big puncher, and his shots were bouncing off him. He was just brilliant, Cordina. There's not a lot else I can say.
Daz, come to you next.
Well, I've never been happy to be as wrong. I actually picked Rakhimov to get to Cordina late, but Joe Cordina were brilliant, absolutely brilliant. He got a strong guy and a strong puncher's respect from the start.
Yeah.
He fought with him when he had to. If you notice, he was stood with him, and then he sort of seemed to mix it up really well.
Yeah.
He'd stand with him, in a couple of exchanges, then he'd box him almost in a second phase, and then he'd pick him off. So he'd have the last word in a really good way. Brilliant plan. And showed, like Andy just said to me, he could prove himself to be the best in the division. He dropped him as well. Hurt him, I think, every time he caught him clean. It's just a testament to Rakhimov's toughness. I actually think that had Cordina just purely boxed him and you been on his bike a lot, I actually stand by my prediction that Rakhimov possibly could have worn him down. But I think Cordina executed that plan brilliant. He conserved enough energy to be able to do 12 hard rounds, by standing. I think he slipped his shots quite well. He took a lot of sting out of Rakhimov's shots as well. Them little turns of the head, them little twists of the body, took a lot of sting out of Rakhimov's shots. I think he sort of broke Rakhimov's heart as well.
Yeah.
I think he wobbled Cordina in the fourth, I think, if I remember. In one of the rounds, he caught Cordina clean and wobbled him. And I think by the end of that round, Cordina had the upper hand.
Yeah.
I mean, that's massive. He's taken away a puncher and a strong fighter's biggest strengths. He just boxed to the perfect plan for me, and executed it as well. Boxed brilliant.
Sean?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I thought Cordina would win, but I think now he's going to be one of those fighters. Before the fight, people would fancy their chances and more than happy to fight him. But I think since the fight now, people are going to be more wary and not want to take him on. And I don't know if you saw the scorecard. I think it was 116, 111 against him. I couldn't see for love nor money where that come from.
No,
So I'm just
no.
happy that he got the nod at the end.
I think he won it, for me, he won it by 2 or 3.
Yeah.
2 or 3 rounds.
I agree with everything that's said. The one thing that I took away was just how knackered Rakhimov was at the end. Just testament again to Cordina's fitness, if nothing else. Because Rakhimov's known as a come forward pressure fighter, and he was absolutely spent on his stool at the end of the fight. So yeah, probably Cordina's probably better than I thought he was. To be honest,
I think, Carl, I think also it puts to bed any questions about Cordina's power. I know we mentioned this on the preview show on Thursday. That was it that shot against Agawa, was it timed brilliantly, which put him down, or does Cordina actually have the power that we were hoping he got? And I think that's answered that question.
You see, I still don't think he's a massive puncher. I still think that shot was perfect timing, but his timing's that good, and his accuracy. He can. I mean, I saw him. He threw a lot of straight. Lee backhands flush, hitting Rakhimov flush, and you could see that Rakhimov. Well, where did that come from? Speed is power. Yeah. Speed is power, and for me, he picked his punches brilliantly.
I don't think many at that weight class would knock Rakhimov out there, would they?
No, I don't think they would, mate. To be fair, not at all. I mean, Cordina visually. I mean, Cordina did hurt him. He hurt him with speed. Cordina hit him with shots he didn't expect, and he didn't see. I mean, a couple of times he exchanged with him, and then he stepped off to the side and then pinged him with a couple.
What do we think about the mooted next fight, Zelfa Barrett? Come to you first, Andy. What do you think about him jumping in? Sorry, Daz. What do you think about him jumping in with him next?
I like Zelfa Barrett a lot. We spoke about this as well on Thursday. I like Zelfa Barrett a lot. And I think his stock rose in the Rakhimov fight. Do I think he should get a shot straight away at Joe Cordina? I would like to see Joe Cordina unify. If the unification fights don't happen, then yeah, definitely Zelfa Barrett should get a shot. But I'd like to see him going against any of the other champions. I mean, Emmanuel Navarrete, for example, has just moved up and he's now WBO champion. I don't think Emmanuel Navarrete carries anything at this weight, mate. I'll be completely honest. He looked poor in my opinion. I think he looked poor in that world title fight. There's no way he hangs with Cordina's speed and movement. Doesn't hang with him, mate.
He might get better as he goes along in the division, though.
Well, he might grow into it, but then that's even more of an excuse to get it now, isn't it? While he's still new at the division. Hector Garcia is a very difficult fight, and I don't know a lot about the WBC champion, O'Shaki Foster. I don't know if any of you two know.
That's where they're looking at next, aren't they? I don't know much about him, but I think that'll be the next fight. Daz, where would you take him next?
He's got to look for unifications, hasn't he? He's got to prove to me. For me, he's got to prove his best in division. Possibly the best in division. I like Zelfa Barrett, and I think Zelfa Barrett had a tougher fight than was previously muted with Dil Magane. This guy, I think, was a bit better. Bit more ambitious, maybe. I mean, I think if you put Zelfa in with Cordina now, there's only one winner, and that's Cordina. Why not? Build. I think Zelfa's well capable of winning a world title.
Yeah, I do.
So why not take him that route? Why not? Let's say Cordina fights Foster. Why not try and get Barrett a shot at Navarrete or Garcia? And then he's earned. If he wins that, he's earned the shot, hasn't he? I mean, because let's be fair, He lost to Rakhimov. He's beat this kid who he's just beat. Does that qualify you for a world title shot? Should it qualify you for a world title shot?
Probably not.
In real world, probably not. So what is it? Maybe have another fight at an higher level.
Yeah, Jason Sanchez wanted who he jumped in with.
That's him, Jason. Yeah, I mean,
He's got to. Sorry, Daz.
Well, can you imagine? Can you imagine if Zelfa beat Navarrete or any of the others? How big that fight would be?
Yeah,
with him and Cordina for undisputed. And listen, let's be fair. Let's be brutal. If Zelfa fought one of them guys and lost, then he don't deserve a shot at Cordina anyway.
Fair comment.
You know what I mean?
Sorry, Daz.
No, sorry, man. Done.
Daz, Sean, where would you take him next?
Yeah, like you say, the old unification makes sense, and you got to think as well because he's got bad hands and you can injure them at any time. So surely for him as well, that's another factor where he wants to earn the big money while he can. But I think probably Zelfa Barrett is where they'll go for because they're in about the Cardiff Stadium, aren't they, in the summer? And I think all the other champions are with PBC or other networks, and they look unlikely. And
I guess at this stage, we want to give a shout out to Sandy Ryan, who I've got, I'll eat my words on Sandy Ryan. What a performance that was, Sean, I'll come to you first on this one. So, obviously, Sandy Ryan, where'd you take her? Break it down, and where'd you take her next? The world's a lobster, isn't it?
Yeah, well, we talked last week about her, about maybe needing another few world title fights before she goes in with the big names. And yeah, she looked very good, but I think she probably does need a couple of more fights before she looked for a unification.
Daz, what were your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Sandy Ryan. You guys know that I like Sandy Ryan. I were a bit, obviously, with talking McCaskill, I was like, maybe she should have another fight, a defense.
Done deal by all accounts, isn't it?
Yeah, mate. Listen, there's no reason why. I'm not saying she can't beat her. Sandy Ryan could beat her. I think the more thing with the defense was probably me thinking, she's won it. Give her a defense, and then get McCaskill maybe on the same card, get them both on the same card, build it up a little bit, and then do it. But no, listen, I think Sandy Ryan can beat her. I think she's well capable of beating her.
It'll be interesting to see what numbers she does when she fights in Derby next, because it's putting it about that she's gonna top a bill in Derby, isn't she?
I don't think that'll happen. I always think that as massive as female boxing is, I think there's only Katie Taylor really topping bills at the minute. That'll change. I think that'll change. But I think Katie Taylor, listen, Sandy Ryan v McCaskill would be a brilliant main event chief support to anything. So,
come to you finally, Andy. Long time, obviously, you've made your feelings known on here that you're a big fan of Sandy Ryan.
I am, yeah, so, I am. And I'm really chuffed for her, mate, as well. We had a bit of me and Joe in the sidebar had a bit of banter last week about my comments about daring to be great. But she did, and she's proved it once again. So, my personal opinion is this: I know you're saying the fight's made. I would like to see her just have a little bit more experience and have a couple of, even if it's just one defense call in front of a big crowd in Derby, even if she's not headlining, because I get what Daz is saying, that right at this minute, she probably isn't going to sell out an arena by herself. But there's that Derby connection with Clifton Mitchell. He has a big Derby following.
Yeah.
And Sandy Ryan's going to get that following from him, especially now she's a world champion. And an undisputed fight on the line makes a big difference when it comes to a crowd. if it was my choice, mate, I would give her one defence first, and then I'd put her in with McCaskill. But if she was if the fight happens next, it happens next. And I'm with Daz that I think she's got a chance. She's got a very good chance. McCaskill's very experienced. The only thing that's my only niggling thing is that she's very experienced. Does she use a ring craft to get through the fight? Whereas Sandy's, she's had 7 pro fights now. So maybe just that one title defense, if not headlining a big show, then chief support on a big show in front of her own crowd would be brilliant. Guess we'll see how it pans out.
Okay. Moving on. Early hours of Sunday morning. What a great fight this was. I've just got a few stats to throw out because I know particularly me and Andy tend to go in on American fight fans and talk about they can't fill a phone box, etc., at stadiums. Well, Tank Davis versus Garcia is a proven example that they can fill stadiums when they get the right fighters in the ring. So, at the minute, it's looking at 1.2 million pay-per-view buys has been achieved by this fight. And it raised $228 million by gate receipts. It's the 5th best gate in terms of income, the 5th best gate receipt of Nevada fighting history.
Hold on a minute. Hold on. It made how much on the gate?
Reportedly, 228 million is what they're saying.
That can't be right.
Well, there was 25,000 fans in that stadium, reportedly.
Well, my maths ain't that quick, mate. What's that split between 200 million?
Yeah, I won't name the organ where I read that, but it's a well respected boxing.
That don't make any sense, mate. That might pay-per-view buys. Maybe it's made, as well. Maybe it's made that sort of money. But
well, they go even further in this article and say they do a comparison against Tyson Fury versus Wilder. Didn't even do 1 million buys, and it only generated 10 million at the gate. Now, what I suspect this article is not 228 million, it's more like 28 million.
Right, okay, that's more like it.
But it does say in the article 228.
Yeah, it'd be 28.
Someone put a typo in there somewhere. But just coming back to my original point, it does show that when they can get it right and they can get fans in the stadium when it's the right sort of fight.
Yeah.
So just coming on to the fight, I'll come to you first, Sean. I think we all say Davis when we did the predictions, or
Yeah.
I think we did.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
So give us your breakdown, Sean, and talk to us about how you thought the fight went.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a good start from Garcia. I think we all expected that, really. And then Tank grew into the fight and, done him with the body shot. I've seen a few comments saying that Garcia quit and everything, but I don't agree with that. I think it was one of those shots that take the wind out and you just can't recover from. And I think Tank's done a tremendous profile on himself, raising this whole thing for him. Because social media wise, I think Garcia was probably the bigger of the two. But I think Tank's done himself a great service in that regard.
Do you think Garcia was dead at the weight? He didn't look great after the weigh-in, did it?
No, well, I think he said himself that he's going to move up, hasn't he, now? So, I guess we'll see him at a new weight in the next few months.
Daz, coming to you next. Give me your breakdown and what you thought of the fight.
Yeah, I thought it was brilliant, mate. I thought it was very, very good. And it was what should happen. The best fighting the best.
Yeah.
I've heard a few things like Sean has about Garcia quit and everything. And all I'll say is people that have said that, obviously, most of you have never been hit with a body shot. That body shot, it were evil. They don't. Thing is, listen. They don't need. We all know they don't need to travel miles. Body shots.
No.
You know, he's been hit. You know, I think it caught him in liver floating rib area, and you could see when it hit him,
He tried,
his face sort of made his expression changed. He took a step back, and he took a step back and thought, right, let's reevaluate because that hurt. And then he's winced.
Yeah.
When you go to breathe and there's nothing there,
Yeah.
you know. So he saw.
And Davis knew, didn't he? Davis smiled, didn't he? He knew.
And basically, Garcia's basically took a step back, gone to take a breath. There was no breath there. So he's took a knee, sensible thing to do, tried to recover. But when you go over like that, you'll cramp up as well. Do you know what I mean? You'll cramp up. He'll be in a lot of pain and discomfort from that. And you know, it was brilliant shot. Simple as. You got to give Tank credit, and I think Tank come across very well after the fight as well.
Yeah.
You know, seems a really nice kid. You know, seems a really nice kid.
I'll just put the comment on the side before I bring you in, Andy. So Joe says Garcia started really well, but got greedy in the second, got put down, which changed the course of the fight. But saying that, I think Tank would have got him regardless. I picked Garcia to win.
Listen, Garcia's come out of this with a lot of credit. Garcia at light welterweight is going to be an handful because we you know, me included, we're thinking as soon as Tank hits him clean, he's in trouble. Tank hit him clean on chin, and he got up. You know what I mean? And his speed's ridiculously fast.
Yeah.
I think we've just got to basically appreciate how good Tank is.
Yeah.
Tank's a very, very, very good fighter who could go on to be a special. Listen, I think we're all wetting his lips at the thought of Tank v. Haney, Tank v. Stevenson. You know, it's like, come on. I mean, it just gets a bit daft when, you know, I mean, you're going to get your people who are saying, oh, yeah, Garcia quit and all that. I mean, apparently Julio Cesar Chavez has come out and said it. I don't believe that for a minute. Until I hear it from Chavez, I'm not having it. You know, he was ultimate person that knows our body shots because he delivered enough. Yeah. But, yeah, you know, come on, bring them all on. Let's see who is the best. And I won't be surprised, you know, Tank's. I do think Haney is possibly the best, but listen, it's what a treat we're going to have finding out.
It's Cole froze.
I don't know. I was thinking that. Am I froze?
I'll pick while we wait for Cole to come back on. I'll pick up the next comment in the sidebar. So, Ultimate Fight fans, the elephant in the room was the pay-per-view void due to Mayweather's dominance. In essence, the passing of the pay-per-view god was never passed to the next generation in a fight, but via Floyd's influence. What do you make of that comment, Daz?
Well, I don't understand it. What does he mean? Does he mean that?
Because what he's saying is that Floyd, as a pay-per-view model, was dominated by Floyd Mayweather, wasn't it? And he made all of his money as a pay-per-view fighter. What he's saying is that's not really been passed to the next generation and made the amount of money that Floyd made in the ring. Do you think that's a lot more to do with the fact that Floyd was such a flamboyant character?
I think it's more to do with Floyd was a special fighter. Special
fighter, flamboyant character. He divided opinion as well, didn't he? A lot of people hated him because of how he was.
Yeah, listen, Floyd
wanted, you know, they buy pay-per-views to see him get beat.
Yeah, but in that, you know, probably, you know, at the end of the day, anyone who buys a pay-per-view puts money in his pocket.
No such thing as bad PR, is there? That's the bottom line.
No, and let's be honest. You know, a lot of people slag Floyd, and say, he fought Pacquiao when Pacquiao were past it. did Pacquiao not win a world title and beat Keith Thurman after that? Listen, Floyd Mayweather would have lived with any fighter around super feather to lightweight in history.
And he reinvented himself, Dad, didn't he? From Pretty Boy to Money
Yeah,
Mayweather.
he was a
Two
puncher.
complete different
He
styles of
was a
fighting.
puncher when he was a super feather. We were featherweight,
Yeah.
super feather, junior lightweight, maybe to lightweight. It was a bit of a, probably lightweight. He was more of a boxer. But that man went in. That man went in and tamed some killers.
Yeah.
And tamed them easily. Some of them.
And let's not forget about the business side of it. He set the blueprint, didn't he, for fighters?
Yeah,
obviously,
of course he did.
Of
course he did.
Getting the rightful purse out of the boxing game.
Yeah, I mean the fight that we all allude to that we think he lost was Jose Luis Castillo, the first one. I mean, I've watched that many times, and I had Castillo winning that by a round. And in it rematch, I mean, he just boxed his head off. So I'm just looking at his thing here.
Yeah, I don't necessarily agree with his point regarding Canelo.
What does he say that Floyd? Floyd did dominate Canelo in a fight.
No, I thought
that was a young Canelo, though, wasn't it?
I've misread it. I thought he was saying that Canelo was his toughest fight. I misread it.
Oh no, yeah, he dominated. Yeah, it was a young Canelo, but it was a Canelo who, listen, let's be right. Floyd Mayweather turned pro at 9 stone. Do you know what I mean? He turned pro at 9 stone, and
I honestly think Floyd Mayweather would have beat Canelo at any stage of his career. I think he was that good.
Yeah. I'll probably at a certain weight he would.
Of course.
At light middleweight he would. Above light middleweight, I'm not so sure, but I wouldn't rule it out because Floyd did what Roy Jones Jr. should have done. Floyd got out. Roy Jones, can you imagine the legacy? Roy Jones, I know it's going to be off topic, but can you imagine the legacy that Roy Jones Jr. would have had he retired after beating John Ruiz?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
How many light heavyweight champions have moved up to heavyweight and won world title? Well, how many have tried? And you're talking.
Well, yeah.
Some
I'm
amazing.
struggling to think of one.
Yeah, some amazing fighters. Listen, but people are always going to pick Roy Jones. Roy Jones, at his best, was as close to untouchable as I've ever seen.
Yeah,
he was ridiculous, pure athlete, pure everything about him. But going back to Floyd and that, I mean, I think you'll get massive pay-per-views when you get fights like this.
Yeah.
And you'll get massive. I don't think you necessarily, in the lightweight division, I don't think you're necessarily going to have one massive pay-per-view star who's going to stand above the others, because I think you're going to have, I mean, can you imagine if Tank fights Haney next? It's going to do massive numbers.
Yeah.
Stevenson fights Haney, massive numbers. I mean, let's not sleep on Lomachenko, to be fair. I mean, I do think Haney's going to beat him.
Kevin Haney's the best of the bunch for me.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I think so. What I think is going to happen is I think Haney's going to be Lomachenko, and then I think we're going to see maybe Tank v Haney, and then I think we'll see, or maybe Tank v Stevenson.
Now that's a fight as well.
I think
we'll see Tank.
I think, and I think we'll see Tank. So I think we'll see Haney will beat Lomachenko. Then I think they'll make Tank v Stevenson, and then winner I think will fight Haney.
Can you imagine the reach? Can you imagine the reach that Stevenson will have over Tank?
Yeah, I know. But I fair to say that I don't think mind you, Stevenson don't really get hit, does he? So it's all right saying he's never been hit like that. I don't think he's ever been hit. No, it's brilliant, mate. It's like your Fab Four, isn't it? Your middleweight Fab Four from way back when. I do find on the Davis issue, there is a lot of people now. I've seen a few comparisons. People actually now saying, "Oh, I would Tank have done with the lightweight Roberto Duran."
Behave.
And it's like, mate, honestly, listen, you're never going to convince me that Duran doesn't beat any lightweight in history.
Well, Tank Davis got the least punch output in boxing by all accounts. Well, you wouldn't have got away with that with Duran, would it? Duran would have been all over him like a rash.
Mate, I'm not being funny, but and this is no disrespect to Garcia, but that punch that folded Garcia, Duran probably wouldn't have even acknowledged it.
Nope.
He'd have pinged. All I'll say on it is this: to people, I mean, Duran's my favorite fighter of all time. I've met him a couple of times, and I've been stood there like a little kid, not being able to say, "Oh," had a quivering bottom lip. He's my idol. One of the most perfect fighting machines ever. Any lightweight in history, Benny Leonard, any of them, Duran beats them all. So there's my answer to would he beat Tank? Yeah, easily.
Anything else to add on that topic, anybody, before I move on?
I just wanted to say that I don't. This might come as a bit of a controversial topic, but I don't think Tank got out of second gear. He completely boxed within himself.
I can see your point.
I think he had confidence that it was going to land, didn't he? He just had confidence that it was going to land eventually.
Carl, all he was doing, he was looking at patterns. He was watching what Garcia was throwing. Now Garcia is very quick,
but
he was always going to get caught with shots from Garcia. But I thought Garcia was very nervous. Like he was fighting. I don't want to say scared because that's not fair. He was fighting like he was worried about what was coming back. I don't think he was fully committing to a lot of his shots. And I think that really was his downfall in the end. Because when he was coming out of shots, he was coming out, and he does come out high anyway. He's always got his chin up, but he was coming out very high and very straight. And that obviously did him for the body shot because Tank just dipped his knees and it was perfect.
Went underneath the shot, didn't he? Yeah, underneath the shot. Have you noticed though when Garcia he throws with lightning speed, he's always stood in range.
Yeah, he's open
to get it back.
Yeah,
can you imagine if he were trained to box at his length, his range, throwing him with that speed? You know what I mean?
He looked nervous when he entered the ring. I watched something back where you can hear what Joe Goosen is saying. And Joe Goosen tells him to get out from the corner because you own the ring. Before the first ball, he says, get out from the corner. You own the ring. So whether that was a confidence thing, because he was in the court. Normally you strut around the ring, don't you? This is my domain.
Yeah.
So that makes me wonder whether Joe was saying, come on, you know what I mean?
I think Tank has probably got a bit of intimidation factor about him as well.
I agree with that, yeah.
With his power, he's probably got a bit of an intimidation factor
and his demeanour does. The way he carries himself, he carries himself like he's going to destroy anybody. He's like a mini Mike Tyson in a way.
Do you know what? Yeah. Do you know what though? He is. He reminds me a bit of Tyson in one respect, but I saw him arriving to venue in his Lamborghini. I think it's a Lamborghini or something he's got. And he got out with his bottle of water and he was chatting and fist bumping everyone. And I think he's whereas Mike Tyson were very sullen, looked like he wanted to eat you. It was like look angry and violent.
Yeah.
I think Tank's the other way where he looks, this is my house.
Yeah, like like it's
This
just
is
another
just
day's
like
work.
going to a sparring session.
Yeah.
And I think that can be a bit unnerving.
Yeah.
I think people think, he looks, I had a bit of I mean, it's a topic for another day, but I had a bit of a read up on his trainer. And his trainer's friend and all that. And it comes, it's a good story.
Yeah, I know his story. Yeah.
Very good story.
He comes from very, very humble beginnings, don't he, Daz?
Mate, yeah. I mean, his trainer Calvin Ford, I believe his name is. He spent 10 years in prison. I mean, he was an enforcer for a Baltimore drug baron. Who this Baltimore drug baron, Warren Border, I think he was called. He's now a trainer at a gym in Baltimore to give back. He was one of the biggest gangsters in Baltimore. They was the basis for the characters in the series called The Wire.
Were they really?
Some of them, yeah. Some of them were the basis. I think this Warren Border, who Calvin Ford worked for, was the basis for Stringer Bell, who Idris Elba played, I think, maybe, or it might have been one of the other characters. But yeah, they were the basis. They were very, very naughty people who are now giving back to the community. But it's a good story that Calvin Ford basically saved Tank from a life of crime.
Yeah.
Got him from a young age.
Okay, moving on to the final topic of the night. Liam Smith versus Eubank Jr. 2, scheduled for June the 17th at the Manchester Arena. I'm looking forward to this one again, to be honest with you. But I'll come to Andy first. Andy, how do you think this one plays out?
Well, firstly, I want to talk about the press conference. And how delusional Chris Eubank Jr. is.
I've just to tell you, I've not seen press conference, so I don't know what happened, Brad.
Okay.
So you have to fill me
Typical Eubank.
All right. What excuse has he come out with?
He's not really come out with an excuse, but what he said was he was fine to fight on.
What?
And the ref shouldn't have, he said he was fine to fight on, and the ref shouldn't have stopped it.
Get ready.
And don't bring a towel to any of my fights in the future.
Yeah, that because the guy that was introducing turned around and said, "Oh no, it wasn't. It was Liam." Turned around and said, "But Roy Jones Jr. had the towel in his hand. He was going to throw it in." And apparently, Eubanks turned around and said, "Me and Roy Jones Jr. have never had a conversation about if I get hurt, can you can or cannot throw a towel in."
There's no conversation. There's no conversation to have.
No, it's down to the trainer.
There's no conversation to have. We're not discussing. I'm not discussing pre-fight with any fighter I train. Right, if you get in trouble, I'm going to throw a towel in, because if you get in trouble,
Eubank Jr.
I'm throwing it in.
So Eubank Jr. on stage in front of everybody, without apparently having this conversation with Roy Jones Jr., has turned round to the world and gone, "Roy, I'm going to be telling Roy Jones Jr. not even to bring a towel to wipe my brow to a ring anymore." Absolutely delusional, mate. Absolutely delusional. I was embarrassed watching it. I'll be complete, and I'll be the first to say that in that build-up to the Conor Benn fight that never happened, my opinion of Chris Eubanks changed a little bit. I thought he handled himself really well. He's always been a bit of a Marmite character when it comes to build-ups to fights, because he's trying to sell tickets.
Yeah.
And some of the things he says are a little bit out of order or whatever, or you don't believe him. But I was really hoping he was going to come into this press conference and say, fair dues, Liam. You knocked me spark out. I'll get you in the rematch. There was none of that. There was nothing to. There was no one. I thought he might be humble, and there was nothing there, mate.
I've seen Liam Smith, and this is a massive credit to Liam Smith. Liam Smith's a real person. Basically, Liam Smith said, "I always knew I was a better fighter than Chris. I know I was technically better, always better. The only thing I was unsure about was could I, at the weight, could I have been better at the weight?" you know, obviously because it was an IO8, and he says, now I know that I can hit him.
Yeah.
You know, anytime I hit him, it's listen, I don't know, mate. I get sick. I just switch off with Eubank, I think. Sometimes I just think, yeah, what dribbles are gonna come out with now?
Been hearing it for so long though, haven't we? Same
It's
lines.
boring, isn't it?
And he's
And
not
he
and he's not produced.
No.
He's not produced anything where we could turn around and say, yeah, he could give the elite problems. Or the world champions at that weight, he could give them problems.
I think it's only right that we let Sean jump in, seeing as his own time fighter. So Sean, let's get your take on it.
I mean, I couldn't really believe what I was hearing from him, and I think there's a pattern with him when he's up against the wall in a fight, or when his back's to the wall, should I say. He tends to come out with more and more outlandish things and stuff that he says. You know, we all know what happens in boxing, and particularly the fight he was in with Nick Blackwell. And to say the stuff he says,
Yeah,
I just don't know what goes through his head. Yeah, and unfortunately, it's just the character he is. Because I think it was it Renaud Quinlan or someone he beat for the IBO title on ITV. Well, when he won that, I think he was charging something like £250 in the nightclubs in the local area for a photo, and you know that's just the guy he is. And yeah, unfortunately, even though he's from my area, I think he's going to lose to Liam Smith in the same fashion.
I want to touch on what you've said there about the Nick Blackwell thing, because I was disgusted with his comment there. So it was the same referee for the fight against Liam Smith that reffed the Nick Blackwell fight, and basically what he was saying was, why has the referee allowed me to pummel Nick Blackwell to the point where he ended up in a coma? And he actually said that. But then he's stopping me after getting put down once or twice in a fight against Liam Smith. To come out with a comment like that in a sport as dangerous as this, when he knows, and Nick Blackwell's still struggling now, to come out with those comments is disrespectful. It's disgraceful.
Especially what his old man's been through as well.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Well, I mean, the Watson fight.
And also, Daz, he turned around and he said, the referee didn't just rob me of coming back in the fight. He also robbed the fans of watching me get an even bigger kick in.
I mean, come on, Chris. Have a word.
It's just astonishing what he was saying. Astonishing.
It's happened today. I've had a bit of a rant on Twitter today. Teofimo Lopez has come out with, I love my job because it allows me to kill somebody and it be legal.
Sport don't need it, does it?
So I've tagged Josh Taylor and put, Josh Taylor, do everyone a favour and beat this clown, because that shite has no place in boxing.
No.
You know. Listen, what happens if you let Chris go on and Chris had suffered a brain injury? Then what?
Exactly.
You know, it's not just Chris that it ruins. Liam Smith has to live with that.
Yeah.
All we want, no matter what, no matter how much animosity there is in a fight, in a build-up, in the fight, as long as the two boxers go home safe, that's all that matters at the end of it.
I think this is the last rodeo for Chris Eubank Jr. I'm not sure where he goes. I'll say when he gets beaten this fight, because I think he will. I'm not sure where he goes, you know, because
I think it'll take a 2 or 3 rounds longer, because I think he'll be a bit more cautious. Might even box a bit of a, you know, behind his jab a bit. Yeah, I can't see anything other than Liam Smith again.
Cole, do you want to get comments in the sidebar from Dan B? I've just read a couple of them.
Yeah, so Dan B starts off by saying up the Rams, so we can guess where Dan's from. He goes on to say Eubank stops Liam Smith. He says something was off. So, I mean, Dan, if you want to join us, because I just can't see how you make a case for that. So if you want to jump on, I'll post a link. If you do, just send me a message if you want to jump on and explain how you think that happens.
Come on, Dan. You're very welcome on this Nottingham show, mate. Come and join us.
And then Joe says, I'm expecting a different fight this time, but I'm going off the severe weight drain from the Ben fiasco. So, but which way? Do you mean by that, Joe, that you think Eubank's got a chance, or did he go a bit longer? So just
I
one
kind
way.
of see where Joe's going with that, in that he took himself down to that ridiculous weight for the Benn fight, and then he either stayed at that weight or only put a couple of pounds on to keep that weight off for as long as he did, if he did, for the Liam Smith fight, or maybe go up, half a stone and then come back down again in such a short space of time. I can see what he's saying.
But they're fighting at the same weight, aren't
They are, but what I think Joe's trying to say is he didn't just do one camp to get down to that weight. He did 2 consecutively without fighting, without taking a break.
they? Right.
So he went down to the weight for the Benn fight.
Yeah.
But he was even lower weight, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Because he jumped on the scales and he was.
Surely, I mean, what was Benn fight made at? 157?
Yes.
And Smith were made at 160?
Yeah.
Yes.
So if he's made 157, which he did, and that's obviously, we know what happened there, and then he's sure, to me, if he's rehydrated himself properly and done it properly, put a bit more weight back on, come down properly, I don't think that should have been an issue at all. No, not at all. Not if he's done it properly. I mean, the only way I can see that being a massive issue is if he's absolutely killed himself to make 157, and I mean absolutely killed himself, as in not being able to eat, rubbing ice cubes on his lips to not take no water, that sort of crazy stuff.
But then
and if that is the case, why has that been allowed to have happened?
And also, why jumping at 160? Because it's not that much difference, is there?
Yeah.
Mate.
Yeah.
Notes.
Yeah.
Why has that been allowed to happen? Why has he been allowed to kill? Listen, let's just accept that Conor Benn and Chris Eubank Jr. are 2 totally different weights.
Yeah.
The dads were the same weight. The dads were the same weight. Great.
Yeah.
Listen, the sons aren't the same weight. One's a big super middle, and one's a big welterweight.
Yeah.
Money again, money. It's money.
Yeah.
And if Chris has absolutely killed himself to make 157, and he's been allowed to do that, then shame on his team. And also, we don't know how it would have affected Conor, because Conor would have been coming in heavier than his normal weight, so it could have had a detrimental effect to him, or because they've both got Ben Eubank name.
He's in a world of trouble though, because Liam Smith. I mean, I predicted it first time out. Most of us did. He's in a world of trouble with Liam Smith because he's just going to target the body.
Exactly.
Don't get me wrong. With me saying what I said, about I can see where Joe's coming from. I don't think for 1 second Eubank wins the fight. I think it maybe lasts a little bit longer this time, because I think he's probably going to do the weight differently. That'll be my argument.
Yeah, he went to walk through him in the first fight, didn't he, Eubank? He thought he could walk through Smith.
Well, if you can't make the weight, you can't make the weight.
Yeah. I agree. I agree.
And my point is as well, Eubank has shown no frailty whatsoever around the chin in any other fight. It's super middle. He's never shown any other frailty. Yeah, he's boiled down to 157, and he looked fragile.
Yeah,
I'll tell you what will happen in this fight. Liam Smith is gonna know now that he can hurt him. Yeah. So there won't be any of this. I'll be tentative for a couple of rounds because he was, and he always is, Liam Smith. He always watches what a fighter's doing and works them out for the first couple of rounds. There'll be none of that because he won't need to do it. He knows he can put it on him and he can hurt him. Eubank cannot fight on the back foot. He's never been able to. So once Liam puts it on him, it's good night.
Defense as well was a big thing. Liam's defense is very good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Chris will throw and he's wide open.
And let's have it right. Liam Smith does not blast people out the ring like that. I'm a big fan of his, but he just doesn't blast people out like that.
And I don't think any boxing person in the country picked that result. I don't think Liam Smith himself expected.
It's all points into the same thing, isn't it? His punch resistance has gone at that weight because he's killing him.
Yeah, it's the weight. It's the weight, definitely. And like I said, shame on his team if that's what they're doing. You know, if he's, I think he's absolutely killing himself to make that. I think he's absolutely killing himself. And how long? Do you know when the Ben fight was scrapped?
I don't know what that time frame was.
No, how long after did he fight Liam?
He fought Liam in the January.
Yeah.
So
and
how
the
long?
Ben fight was in the October.
Yeah. I mean, did he blow up, and then did he blow up to one? I think Chris will probably blow up to 175, 180 in between fights. So did he blow up and then have to go back down to make 160
and crash the weight off?
Because I think he'll have crashed the weight to get to 157. Then when that's not happened, has he blown up? And then when the Liam Smith fight's made, has he had to crash it to make 160?
Down and off that he's shifting there, isn't it? Best part of.
Yeah, it's not healthy, mate. It's not good. I don't think, you know. And I'm surprised that he's doing it again at that way.
It's a very dangerous line to walk down, isn't it, Daz, when you're talking about I mean, you, like we've just said, he's never been hurt like that in a fight ever.
No, he's never even looked in trouble.
He's never even looked in trouble. And then he gets absolutely laid out. I don't care what he says about he could fight again. He couldn't fight. He didn't know where he was.
George Groves is a serious banger.
Yeah. He didn't do it to him.
And George Groves never had him in bother.
No, it just worries me. And it is all about money with Eubank. It always has been. It's never been about legacy with Chris Eubank Jr.
No.
It's always been about money and what he can make from a fight, which is why he only takes certain fights at certain times, because it's about how big the purse is. This is the only reason he's taking this rematch, mate, because it's massive money.
Yeah. Do you know, the thing is, you know, with the history with his dad and Michael Watson, with Chris Jr. and Nick Blackwell, Chris doesn't need money. Chris Jr. doesn't need money. I mean, if your motivation becomes how much money can I make, and that's your sole motivation, it's time to hang gloves up.
Dangerous, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, if you're willing to make a ridiculous weight for what that's going to put your health at risk for money, it's time to stop. I think.
Well, you start making the wrong decisions, don't you? Because you're chasing the pound out.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, you're blind. I mean, really, if you think about it, you got to ask yourself this: if you were Chris's advisor, trainer, and he's fought at super middle, super middle, and this comes up with Ben, but you've got to boil down to 157. You'd be like, well, I mean, no, it's crazy. You know you're a fighter, don't you? You know how hard it is for him to make the weight he's fighting at.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and the truth is, he didn't want the Smith fight anyway. He wanted the Ben fight, didn't he?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, Joe. I just want to reply to Joe. Absolutely spot on, mate. You lose your brain fluid. Yeah, it's not great. That's our injuries happen. That's why. Excuse me. A lot of fights. When a fighter, you'll see a lot of referees stopping a fight when a fighter's tired. Stop the head rocking back. When they're dehydrated as well.
So also on this card, for the last 5 minutes, it's Savannah Marshall's next fight against DAZN, who for all the marbles at super middleweight. So we shall stop round the group. Andy, how do you think? Obviously, she stepped up to super middleweight, but Peter Fiore saying it suits her better. To jump straight in before the belts, shows she means business. Typical Peter Fiore, really, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think this is a very, very good fight stylistically for Savannah Marshall. Franchon Cruz DAZN, I don't think looked great in the undisputed fight. There's not the movement there that you get with
Shields.
Clarissa Shields. She's not the same type of fighter, so she's not going to give Savannah Marshall the trouble, in my opinion. She's not very experienced either, by the way, in the pro rank. She's only had 9 fights, which probably tells you a little bit about the depth of the super middleweight division in women's boxing. Savannah Marshall beats her convincingly, in my opinion. It probably goes to points because Cruiserzone's tough, but I think Marshall wins quite a wide points decision.
What about you, Daz?
Yeah, I think it's a genius bit of matchmaking. Genius, because she's only lost to Clarissa.
Yep.
And that was on both their debuts.
Yeah.
Yeah. Stylistically, she's perfect for Savannah. It's a genius bit of matchmaking, to be fair. Genius bit of matchmaking. I see Savannah winning quite handily. Then maybe could she be calling for Shields to move up for a rematch rather than fight at middleweight?
That's a good shout.
Yeah,
that's what I see happening.
Yeah, because you've got to think that would be very, very, very tempting for Shields because it's undisputed at another weight division.
I think Shields is Marshall's kryptonite. I do.
Do you know what, mate? I think Marshall fought wrong fight. I think she should have won boring instead of trying to spark her.
Yeah.
To me, if Savannah had touched her with that jab, because when she were doing that, Shields was on defensive, so she'd touch her with jab, back at it ropes. Throw a little 1-2, step off it. So win ugly. Win on work rate.
I think Shields would have found a way, Daz, to be honest.
I don't think she would, mate. I think Savannah would have kept it. And then if she'd have wanted to change that, she'd have had to come forward. Savannah could have walked her onto something. Do you know what I mean? And I don't think Savannah just following her out ring is what you do.
Yeah. Sean?
Yeah, I agree. I also think that it's going to lead to the Clarissa Shields rematch as well, because that's the big bargaining chip for Savannah Marshall. And yeah, I think she wins on points.
I actually think Marshall stops her in around 6 rounds. I think she'll stop her. So we got a couple of minutes left, guys. So any other topics before I bring the show to a close?
Nothing I can think of.
Quick comment from Joe. Joe says, I agree that sort of weight cut is dangerous. His team should never have allowed him to fight at 157 as in Eubank. You're losing brain fluid when you deplete your body to that extremes. Joe said Marshall never used any of her attributes in the Shields fight. She mainly stood in front of her and let her tee off on her constantly.
Agree with that.
Andy, I'll let you take it out, Andy.
Nice to have a couple of new names and comments in the sidebar. Everyone's welcome as usual. Next time, let's have a few of you on screen with us. That'd be great. Thanks as always to Daz and Sean. Permanent on the show nowadays, guys, which is fantastic. Thanks to Carl for rejoining us this week. The boss is back. Thursday night, guys. Every single week we do this show at the same time, 7:00. We'll see you next Thursday. Come and join us.
Adios.